Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go along the road to my local brewery. So this is 2 or 3 miles away from where I'm living at the moment, and we're going to go to Alloa in Clackmannanshire in central Scotland. And this beer is from Williams Brothers Brewing Company, who many of you will know, and it's called Paradigm Shift, and they describe it as an enhanced red ale. But in their description they say some might think of this as a red IPA, and I've seen it listed on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate as being an American Amber IPA. So it's quite an interesting beer. There's a lot of crossover in the style, but I'm sure regardless it will be a very good beer because it does seem to have really good ratings, and it's very seldom that Rate Beer and Beer Advocate are wrong on these things. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. I've done many of these reviews for you before, so it will only be 2 or 3 minutes. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the description for you below, along with a link to my other Williams Brothers reviews that I've done before, and you can rest assured that there are many reviews that I've still to do from these guys because they're quite a prolific and experimental brewery actually. But anyway, Williams Brothers started out as the family-owned Glen Brew home brewing shop through in Glasgow, and their first ale, as many of you will know, it was inspired by a 17th century Gaelic recipe for Freach Heather ale, and this ale is actually the oldest style of beer in the world. It's about 4,000 years old or something like that, but it's named after the Celtic mythological hero of the same name. Now in 1988 a woman of Gaelic descent came into their brew shop with a translation into English of this recipe from Gaelic, and she basically wanted to create a batch to share with her family, and she agreed to share it with Bruce Williams in exchange for him helping brew the batch. And I think there's some sort of agreement with Williams Brothers that she gets as much of this beer as she wants in exchange for Williams Brothers being allowed to sort of commercially brew it. But there was a small batch of only 5 barrels of this beer produced in Tainoak railway station in Argyll and Bute, and the following year the demand for this beer had increased massively. So at this point Scott Williams joined his brother Bruce, and they began to develop other historic recipes. There's quite a few of these actually. There's the Groatsit, which is the gooseberry wheat ale, the Kelpie seaweed ale, Abelum, which is an elderberry black ale, and Alba, which is a Scots pine ale, and they're all very good actually. I've only tried 1 or 2 of them, but they are good, and I will review them for you over the next little while too. But these 4 recipes were produced at the Craigmill Brewery in Strathaven between 1998 and 2004, but more recently they've moved to their new current base at the 4th Brewery in Kellybank in Alloa, and this was at this point in 2004 when they moved. This was when they adopted the name Williams Brothers, and since then they've developed over I think it must be about 40 or so new recipes they've developed fully now, and they're actually regarded as one of the most prolific breweries in Scotland. If you go and check out their website, like I say, you can actually get a list of all the different beers they do. They do a lot of specials, and they've got quite a big regular range actually, and my favourite beer that these guys do is the Caesar Augustus. It's a really nice kind of lager IPA hybrid beer, but oddly enough they're the last brewery in the old brewing capital of Scotland. Alloa had loads of breweries, and it's actually the place where a lot of the whisky is matured in Scotland. They say that the whisky in Clackmannanshire is worth more than the gold in Fort Knox over in America, but how true that is I'm not sure, but there is loads of it here, and the houses actually get this kind of black moss that grows on the walls and things due to the kind of the angel share of the whisky and stuff. So it's cool. It's an interesting place to live. Not much to do, but there's a lot of alcohol lying around, so it's cool in that regard. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself then. So as I told you, this guy is regarded as an enhanced red ale by Williams Brothers, but they say that it could be regarded as a red IPA in the description. So I'll just tell you about the malts and stuff that are in this one. I'll bring up the camera and check that you're seeing that, but it's 6.2% on the Richter scale. A paradigm shift essentially is just a sort of changing your method of thought really. That's the kind of way to describe it if you don't know. But they say on the back, paradigm shift is a generously hopped red ale, malty toffee with a lemony fresh finish. And on the website you can actually see the hops and things that go into this. So it's a 6.2% red ale as they describe it. It's got a malt base of lager wheat and crystal malts and dark crystal malts as well, and it's hopped with Bravo, Citra, Centennial and Amarillo. I think this is the very first beer I've had with Bravo hops in it, and I think if I remember rightly, from the Bravo hop you get a kind of floral aromaticity from it, so we'll soon see that. But without further ado, let's actually get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So my friend Grant told me that this beer was awesome. He was actually the one that told me to get this, so I'll give him a wee toast when we get this guy out. But you can smell the fruit off this one as you open it up. Very nice smelling beer. Nice kind of dark richy mahogany copper colour, actually quite an interesting one. That's the standard Williams Brothers bottle cap on this. The smaller bottles, the 330s, tend to have this one, whereas the bigger ones tend to have the one that has a bit of tartan in it. But yeah, so we'll just bring that back here, but as you can see, it's poured a really nice sort of coppery mahogany colour. It looks really, really good. It is clear. I'm not sure how well you can see it on the camera, but if I put my fingers behind it, I can actually see through it. Just a little bit of kind of condensation on the glass, but it's got a finger of a kind of creamy coloured frothy white head. That's actually one of the neatest heads I've ever seen in all these 400 odd reviews that I've done for you. But there's just some nice big bubbles moving up towards the bottom of the head there, and some bigger ones sticking to the side of the glass, but it looks very, very nice, I have to say. So let's get stuck into this guy. Nice big fruity aroma, as you would expect. It's quite interesting, there's a lot going on in it. So you've got a nice kind of sweet caramel underline, but the most prominent component of the aroma, when you just sit it still, it's really a quite tropical fruit one actually. But there's some pine resin just lying underneath that. You can pick up the sort of sharper pine resins and some kind of citrusy hops, and maybe that's it. It smells a little bit like a kind of juicy orange, and that's of course something that you expect of the Amarillo hop, but there is a little bit of tropical fruit in there. I want to say that it's a kind of, it does have that kind of grapefruity sourness to it, but there's maybe a kind of pineapple and sort of peachy note in there too. But yeah, there's an aromatic kind of character coming out as well. It is kind of hoppy. Like the tropical notes that you're getting out of this guy are coming from the Citra, I would say. The orangey ones will be the Amarillo hop, and then you've got a kind of sort of aromatic and slightly grassy note coming off too, but the malt base is quite big as you let your nose adjust to it. But the aromaticity you're getting out of this one is most likely the Centennial and the Bravo hop, like I was saying. As I say, the first time I've come across the Bravo hop, so I did look it up and see what kind of characteristics it had. But underneath that you can really smell the big malt base on this one. It actually smells quite similar to the Double Joker malt base. So you've got a nice big sweet caramel and biscuit malt base in there. It's a little bit toasted and maybe even a little bit nutty, but I think you can pick up just a little bit of sort of cereal character in there too. Sort of almost like a kind of rye breadish smell actually, a kind of pumpernickel bread maybe you guys in America would describe it as, but it's a very nice aroma, so do take a bit of time and smell that. But there's the thing that's interesting to me in this one is the Bravo hop. So it's a nice big caramel malt base, some biscuity notes, a little bit of nutty coming out there, but a kind of pumpernickel bread too. You can get the piney raisins just underpinning this, but some citrusy oranges, tropical fruits on top as well, and there is a little bit of aromaticity. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this beer. This is the Paradigm Shift from Williams Brothers in Alloa in Scotland. I bought this beer in Valhalla Goat, so I want to give a toast to my friend Grant for recommending it. Cheers. And that's very, very nice actually. Just need to let your mouth adjust to it a wee bit. But yeah, there's a nice sweet malt base on this, but you do get a bit of a bitter bite from the hops while your mouth is just adjusting to this. Very nicely done actually, it's cool. I do like the kind of more stronger beers that Williams Brothers do, and it's hard to believe that this is only 6.2% actually. It doesn't have such a big alcohol warmth, but the thing is, the malt base on this is kind of at the same sort of level, if you like, as a double IPA almost. It does have quite a kind of boozy tasting malt base, but it doesn't have the alcohol warmth, which is quite unusual actually. But yeah, with this beer you just get a blanket of kind of nice bready character over the tongue there. You've got some kind of nutty flavours just blending in with that, but there's a rich kind of darker caramel just goes down the middle of the tongue. And there is a kind of more cereally spice to it as well, which is maybe, it kind of builds as you move into the aftertaste actually, just before you get right to the edges of the tongue there. But it just kind of builds a wee bit, and you can, that's maybe where the kind of biscuity flavours are coming out in this one. It's quite interesting. It's a really good beer, that. It would be awesome to try that on tap actually, but it's quite rare to find the Williams Brothers stuff on tap. The only place I can think is the one that's next to the Valhalla Goat shop There's a bar there that Williams Brothers own as well that apparently has a lot of the Williams Brothers beers on tap, which is it's an obvious thing, but they're meant to be very nice. I've only ever tried a couple of them, but the Williams Brothers beer really is good. But yeah, you've got that nice big malt base, just a kind of light bready feel on that. That's the crystal and kind of dark crystal malts. The kind of cereally spice you're getting out of it is maybe the more dark crystal malts, but it is a very light, very lightly bready malt base in there. But on top of that, I want to say there's a kind of just a teeny bit of nutty flavours, but it's more of a kind of cereal flavour, and there is kind of just a little bit of caramel goes down the middle of the tongue, not roasted or anything like that. Maybe it's more a kind of toasted bread flavour you're getting out of this, and there is just a little bit of biscuit, but it is a very light in the malt base. This is more of a hop forward beer, as you would expect. But yeah, you've got a nice fruitiness on this one. It's actually quite complex. You've got the piney resins just underpinning this a little bit, but there's a kind of, I want to say there's just a little bit of a kind of orangey taste to it, but it kind of takes a little bit of a back pedal, if you like, to the kind of sourness that you're getting from the grapefruit, and it's a sort of grapefruit, maybe a little bit of a pineapple and peach in there, but it's quite a sour tropical note you're getting from this one, I want to say. Yeah. Around the back edges of the tongue, you might even be getting just a little teeny bit of an earthy character coming out. I believe that's a kind of, you can get just a little bit of earthy character out of the Centennial hop, and right on the back corners of the tongue is where you kind of get that. But there is a sort of grassy and aromatic-y dryness, and that's the Centennial. That's the Centennial and probably the Bravo coming out really around the edge of the tongue. It's actually got quite a dry mouthfeel, this one. But as you move towards the front, you have got a sort of quite sourish, not sourish, but you know what I mean. It's a quite kind of slightly sour grapefruit taste to this. There probably is a little bit of peach and maybe some kind of pineapple in there. It's quite an unusual mix you have on this one, but you'll feel this little oily bubble move towards the front of the tongue, and there is a little bit of a kind of citrusy flavour in there. But yeah, as you move into the aftertaste, the lingering, I can see why they're saying it's a sort of zesty, citrusy finish. As you move into the aftertaste, it's a kind of grassy and slightly lemony citrus comes out in the hop. You've got this aromatic and floral characteristic comes out at the front of the beer on the very kind of front curve of the tongue, and it's really nicely done. You're getting this, a little bit of citrusy lemon in there, grassy and aromatic hop, and that kind of, as you move further around, there is a little bit of pine resin just underpinning this beer. But it's really nice actually, so I would say that it's really nice. It's really nicely done just how these flavours blend together actually. But the caramel, there's a really good transition between the caramel and things like that too. There's a lot of stuff going on in this beer, so just think a little bit about it. But you feel this little oily bubble moving towards the front of your tongue, and that's where you're getting a lot of the fruit character coming out. There's a kind of tropical grapefruity flavour coming out there, as on just this little oily bubble that moves towards the front of the very tip of the tongue actually. But anyway, there's got a lot of stuff going on, so do just think about it. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, it's quite mid-bodied. The carbonation is a little bit prickly, but it's got a nice oily mouthfeel, and it's got a sweet kind of malt base on it, but it's got a kind of nice lingering hoppy dryness as well. The dry character is quite prominent on this one. It is a very light malt base as well, I should point out, so it's mainly a hop forward beer, this one. So that kind of fits in with the sort of, pardon me, American red IPA. But it also fits in with the American Amber as well, so it's quite difficult to pin this one down in the style, just particularly because of how much they cross over. But the most important thing is that the beer is really good, and I would actually go as far as saying this is perhaps one of the best beers that I've tried from Williams Brothers. I certainly would drink this again, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll take this over and let some of my friends try it in Japan and things like that. So yeah, but overall I'd say a really nice beer. If you enjoy your American Amber ales and things like that, it's definitely worth trying. It's really beautifully done. For being 6.8%, it does actually feel a little bit boozy as well, so that's another interesting point about it. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer. It's been really cool to review another one from my local brewery, especially one that's as good as this. This is really Williams Brothers excelling themselves, if you like, which is quite a difficult thing for them to do because they produce so many good beers, but this, I would say, is one of the best ones I've tried from them. But yeah, please let me know your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you soon soon with my next beer review, and there will be more from Williams Brothers. Slàinte!